Hey everybody, this is Christopher Brower here with Daily Motor, and today we're driving one of my favorite cars. This is the 2022 Hyundai Veloster N. If you know me, I am a huge fan of hot compacts and hot hatches, and this is one of the best. 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, 275 horsepower and 260 foot-pounds of torque. You've got two choices for transmission on this Veloster N. You can have a dual clutch automatic, or you can properly spec it with the 6-speed manual like this car has. We also have these new bucket seats. I don't know if bucket's the right word, but they are super aggressive seats. I guess shut the door here and you can see them a little bit better. These are your only choice for seats now, as every Veloster N comes with the track pack, and which means you also get these slightly larger wheels. A pretty funky looking car. The Veloster has sort of always looked the same, and I really like it. I've always liked the way that this car looks, partly because it isn't symmetrical, which is sometimes cool on cars. Because if you look at this side, you've got two doors, right? It looks like, oh, this would be a 5-door configuration. Well, 1, 2, 3 if you count the hatch. And then you come over to this side and you realize, oh, there's no back door, because on this side, it's an 2-door. Which is kind of cool and funky, and I like cars in the current market that are a little bit funky. It's really funny if you look at it from this angle, because the B-pillars don't match up. It's kind of a funny thing, but like I said, I really like it. This will be a pretty quick static tour here. There's not really much to show on the interior as far as amenities go, because this is really just a cheap economy car, and the hood is very hot, but I wanted to show you guys the beating heart, the 2-liter turbo. Pretty cool engine cover on this car. The hood is burning me. My apologies, but not too much to see under there. More exciting when I actually start the car. Let's hop in the back seat real quick. Now, I usually sit behind myself. In fact, I think I will. I'll just scoot over here so you can see how much room we have. So I'm 5'11". This racing seat right here is adjusted for me. And honestly, I've got plenty of room back here. I mean, ample leg room for a full-sized adult. And headroom is decent. Even with a camera on my face, I'm not hitting my head, but it is a little bit close. From back here, you get a good view of our blue seat belts. Every Veloster N has these light blue seat belts, and a couple more light blue accents, which you will see when we are up front. So let's go ahead and step up front. Like I said, really nothing here in the back. You've got 2 different size cup holders, and well, the biggest treat that you have in the back seat is getting able to stare at these beautiful front seats while you're back here. Quick sneak peek up to the driver's compartment there. All right, let's slide across, which is quite easy actually. This is probably how I would get into this car if you're driving 4 people around. Have the first person slide in across here. It's easier than moving this seat forwards. I don't know why anyone would do that, but you have the option if you'd like to. Slight carbon fiber details here on our spoiler. N badge here. Rear diffuser with massive exhaust tips. I love how this thing looks from the back. Pretty clever spot to open the hatch right here under the rear wiper. You can see that you have actually a decent amount of room back here. The trunk floor is pretty deep. A couple of speakers back here for our Infinity sound system. If you're curious to learn more about that sound system and want to hear a demo as well as a tour of the infotainment, I will link Charlie's video down below. Cool. All right. Well, I know that, well, I don't know if you're dying to get out on the road, but I certainly am, because I love driving this car. So let's go ahead and hop inside, do a 30-second tour of the interior, and then we'll get this thing out on the road. But first, let's go ahead and start it up. Now that's a warm start. I've been driving this thing around a little bit today. Put us straight into N mode so you guys can hear this exhaust ricochet off this brick building here. How do they get away with that? In 2022, all of our rules and regulations, how do they sell a car like this in California? It's hysterical. Up here in Michigan, we love loud cars though, as long as you don't go to Royal Oak. But other than that, it fits in quite well, and I think it sounds awesome. Sometimes it's hard to get a real unique and throaty noise out of a 2-liter, and I think they've done a really good job here. Well, I showed you guys these seats already. These little N badges up here below the headrests light up at night, not while you're driving, but as you walk up to the car and get in. Hyundai says it's to remind you when you get in at night or dusk that you are driving something special. You're driving an N car. So that's a pretty cool touch. Otherwise, the interior, it's super cheap, basic economy car, scratchy plastic, but I don't care in this setting because that's not what this car is about. It's about driving, and it's really just overall a driver's car. So I don't care about the scratchy, crappy plastic. At least they did a good job with the seats and the steering wheel as well. Perforated leather here, N badge, blue buttons for our drive modes, and everything as well. Analog gauges there with a little N badge there on the rev counter, and a small electronic display in the middle that you can change to be whatever you want. You've got some performance gauges here, oil temp, torque, turbo boost, lap timer, and G-force. I just like to keep mine on the digital speedo. Pretty simple infotainment here. If you want to learn more about this, check out Charlie's video, but I'm just going to go through the N mode real quick with you guys, this N mode screen. So you can set up your custom N mode in here and just do however you want to do with that. We've got suspension here on full comfort, exhaust sound loud, engine loud, rev matching on, which is, in my opinion, the best way to do things because you have all the noise and the drama, but it doesn't break your back like it would in full N mode. So we're going to leave that alone. You can see lateral G, performance, timer, oil temp, torque, turbo, kind of similar to your digital display there in the middle. And then you also have launch control settings here, as well as shift light, desired RPM, or you can just turn the shift light off altogether. We'll do a launch control a little bit later once we get out onto the road. I'm going to leave the windows down just for a second till we get out onto the highway so you can hear a little bit more of this glorious 4-cylinder turbo. Mechanical handbrake with no sort of leather, not even a leather boot. But like I said, we're not complaining about any sort of interior quality bits with the Veloster N. Pretty basic reverse camera, no 360 camera, anything like that, but it does swivel. Quality's not the best, but hey, at least it's a reverse camera and it takes up the whole screen. All right, let's take this thing out on the road. Yes. Now, admittedly, I have been driving this car around in N custom mode all week. Because it makes me feel like I'm in high school again and I can be slightly outrageous with my vehicle. Just do that one more time here. Watch out, bird! Okay, let's go ahead and put our windows up here. Don't worry, you'll still be able to hear the car even with the windows up. The AC down to low. It's very hot out today, or else I would not be running the AC at all. It is 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh man, this is gonna be a tough review for me because I'm just gonna be driving around making squeaking noises as I change gear. It's such a fun car to drive in just the purest form. You get the sense that that was the only thing that they cared about was It's a very easy car to shift fast, which is important because a lot of other cars in this segment, such as the Honda Civic Si, the Jetta GLI, and other hot compact and hot hatch cars, they suffer from rev hang. And, you know, rev hang is fine in an economical sense, but when you're actually trying to go and have fun, you don't want rev hang. You want to be able to bang gears, shift fast, get that really nice, satisfying, crisp shift, which this car does very well. Also, active rev matching does a fabulous job. Crisp, satisfying, perfect shift every time. Not the fastest thing in the world at 275 horsepower, but it's fast enough and it's adequate for a hot hatch in this class and around this price range. Every Veloster N starts at 32 grand. Like I said, they all have the performance pack now. So really your only choice is exterior color and transmission. It's kind of a shame with a lot of cars in this class. They don't really give you too many options to choose from anymore. I suppose that's okay because they just give you everything standard and there's really not too much more you could add to this car either. You feel that N corner carving differential putting in work there. Of course means the ELSD up front does a pretty good job. Around corners you don't have slip, you don't have one wheel lighting up as you're going around a corner quickly. They've really dialed this car in. All of the N cars. I was just in Atlanta driving the Elantra and Kona N at Atlanta Motorsports Park around track, and you can watch those videos on the Winding Road magazine channel and watch all my poor apexes and things like that. But actually, what I'm trying to say is they've dialed this car in to just be the ultimate hot hatch, and they see their open slot in the market. Ford has left the game. We no longer get a Focus ST, Focus RS, or Fiesta ST here in America, so Hyundai saw their chance. They made a bunch of hot hatches and hot compacts, and from my perspective, they're on top right now. These, sure, they may not be the most refined inside, but they are the most fun to drive. They have so much spirit and character. Let's do a launch control while we have the road to ourselves here. All right, so I'm in N mode. ESC is in Sport. You have to activate launch control here. Leaves it for 5 minutes, and factory RPM launch is 3,000, so we'll just leave it at that for now. There we go, launch control ready. Ooh, it did struggle for grip a little bit there. And there's 60. Yeah, we did struggle for traction slightly there. I think I was on some loose stones, but there you go. You can see how launch control works. Ah, yes. All of these performance characteristics of these N cars, they all feel so proper, and they feel like they've been around for a lot longer than they have. And I think that could have something to do with the fact that the former boss of the M division at BMW now works over at Hyundai in the N division. So there's a little bit of experience here as far as race car and sports car development goes. And you can definitely feel that DNA, that legacy here in the Veloster N and all of the N cars. You can tell these people, they know what they're doing. Hyundai hasn't been in this game for very long, but they know their market. They know exactly what they're doing. This car is just, it's such a treat to drive. We'll give this Dodge Journey a little bit of room here. I believe we're on some P0s today. Bit of lift-off oversteer going around there. Oh boy. Okay, so going away from performance driving for just a second, this is still a Hyundai, so you can have it in a bit more of a refined drive mode. We'll stick it back into normal mode. Lane keep assist is over here to your left, and steering assist. And now the car's driving itself. So all of that raw performance, those bangs, those pops, snap, crackle, pop, and carving differential and all those things. But then you can settle the car down, set your cruise control, and it'll just drive for you. And it still hasn't yelled at me to touch the steering wheel. It's going around the corner, now it'll straighten out. There you go. And I'm gonna have to take back control because we are going around the corner here. Give me N mode back. Very good. Turn these assists back off. So this is important to me because hot hatches should be able to be really two cars. You've got the one side of the car that is your daily driver. It's very fuel efficient. You can drive it to work every day. It won't beat you up. The ride isn't so stiff that it breaks your back. It's got just enough technology to get you by. This one's got a good touchscreen with Apple CarPlay, automatic climate control, navigation, all the good stuff. Lane keep assist, steering assist, cruise control, and it does all of that very well. Obviously, you can stiffen up the suspension when you're in just full-on N mode, and it's terrible to drive on the road, but it's good to have for the track. On the flip side of things, it should be an absolute maniac. And this car does that perfectly. You've got multiple exhaust settings, so when you're in normal mode, it can be quiet and refined. But when you're in N mode, it sounds like Rice Krispies. And that's just the best of both worlds. That's why I love hot hatches, because they're so versatile. You just do so many things. This one's even got 2 doors on half of the car, so you can get people in the back. And then it doesn't spoil your view of the driver's side when you walk up to it. How cool is that? They've thought of so many things with the Veloster. Okay, so I know we touched on price a little bit earlier, but do I think it's worth the asking price? Yes, I do. Every day of the week. $32,000 actually is quite appropriate, because you're really paying for the performance here. You're not paying for any frills. But you do get some frills, like the driver assists and this nice infotainment screen. So those are all good things. As far as competitors go, this car kind of slots between the 2 Volkswagen hot hatches, the GTI and the Golf R. But as far as I'm concerned, this is even more fun to drive than those cars. The problem with the Germans is sometimes they take themselves a little bit too seriously. The new ones don't as much. They still do slightly, but they don't take themselves as seriously as the Golfs and Jettas from years past. They get a little bit of raspy exhaust note, and throttle response is a little snappier, but it's not as rowdy as this car. This car is about as rowdy as you can get away with in 2022, and I love that Hyundai is pushing that boundary and just giving us all they can. I have a feeling that whatever the decibel limit is, they've met it. Absolute limit of decibels, and maybe they tested it in normal mode or something, because sometimes you get on this car and you're in an echoey area and you bang a gear and it pops so loud that it sounds like an actual gunshot. I don't really know how they got away with that, but I do love it. And if you're the EPA watching, or the government, I'm lying right now. It doesn't actually do any of that, so just ignore everything I just said. But anyways, how do we sum up the Hyundai Veloster N? Well, it's a fabulous little car, and I don't say this often. We drive 2 new cars every week here, between all of the different channels that we record for. And very, very rarely do I emerge from an experience thinking that is a car that I would buy. In fact, it's only happened probably 2 or 3 times, where all around, you know, obviously cars are very fun. They're fun to drive. They can be versatile, unique, whatever. But not often do you think, in every way, that's a car that I would buy. That's a car that I would live with. And this Veloster N is one of those cars. This is a car that I would buy. I mean, it's that good, seriously. And this goes for not all of the N cars. I don't think I'd buy a Kona N, but this goes for the Elantra N as well. Veloster and Elantra N, both fabulous cars. If you have the means, I mean, this is the one I would get. There are other good options, like I said, Golf GTI, Golf R, and sure, the Honda Civic Si is a little bit cheaper, but that kind of falls under the category of safeness. Yes, it's a really good car to drive, it's fun to drive, feels very refined, but it's not rowdy, and I think hot hatches should be a little bit rowdy. That's just my opinion. You should be able to go terrorize neighborhoods in your hot hatchback, and you absolutely can do that in this Veloster N. So kudos to Hyundai and Kia for keeping these hot compacts and hot hatches around. Even Kia's doing it. We were just driving the Forte GT, and even that's a really good car. It's not quite as good as this, but it's a pretty good little car. A little pops on the down rev. I have been averaging quite poor fuel economy this week. I can find it somewhere here. I been getting? Oh, 23. That's actually not as bad as I thought. A couple days ago, it was about 18 the first day I was driving this because I was just driving like a bat out of hell everywhere. But I have brought it up to 23. That's quite impressive. So I've been driving like an absolute teenager, and I'm still at 23 mpg, so that's good. I would say that is plenty adequate. EPA rates this at, I believe, 21 city, 28 highway, so combined average of 25 mpg. We'll find out what that actually gets here in a little bit. I'm about to go out and record the fuel economy test. So if you're curious about that, I will link that down in the description as well for you guys. So hopefully that review made sense, and it was a lot of me just having a really, really fun time in this car. But I guess that's really all you need to know, is that it is an absolute blast. It's a properly good little car, and you will not be disappointed. Go out, buy an N car. I don't care which one it is, because we need to keep these cars around. We need to make sure that these stay in the market, because it's just that little boost of serotonin that you need in today's sad, sad world. Anyways, let's go ahead and do one more little walk around of this Veloster N. Looks pretty good in this red color. As much as I like red, I think I may actually go for the light performance blue, or whatever it's called. Just because it's unique to this car. You can have whatever you want pretty much in red, which is good. I like red, but set you aside a little bit if you get the blue, so that's probably what I would do. But I would get a manual, so I mean, this is essentially how I would spec mine. All right, guys, well, I hope you have enjoyed watching the 2022 Hyundai Veloster N. Such a solid choice, may even be my favorite car currently in this segment, and probably one of my top 5 favorite cars overall in the current market. So that'll wrap it up for us today. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been Christopher Brower here with Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.